Just as a reminder, you can visit us at thepandapod.com. That's thepandapod.com to grab our RSS feed, listen directly, and share PandaPod with your family and friends. You can also reach us directly via email through podcast at thepandapod.com. Thanks for listening.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the Panda Pod. I am one of your hosts, Rab, and I'm joined here by our two normal hosts, Wiggy and Jeff.
Hello.
Hello.
And today we also have one extra friend, Jackie, who's going to talk to us about scams.
Hello.
So I guess to start off, Jackie, why don't you give a short introduction and lead into why do you care about scams?
Sure. So, my name is Jackie, and I became aware of scams probably about 15 years ago when someone in my family brought home a big giant box of smelly candle pots, and that was my introduction to Scentsy. Um, and of course, like any nosy 20 something would do, I did as much research as I could into this company, and I realized that it was a very small part of a very big problem. And I became aware of multi-level marketing, and I think a lot of people that had Facebook at that time became aware of it, and it was one of those things that annoyed me so much that I was like, wow, I really hate this. And I'm gonna talk everybody that I know. I'm gonna talk them all out of doing it and try to help people get out of it. And from then it just became this, some people are really into true crime or knitting or like macrame. And I'm just really into reading about scams and trying to protect the vulnerable people in my family from it, because I think that's a good thing to do.
That's great. And I mean, we're all vulnerable to it. And I think, maybe not all on the same level, but especially multi-level marketing schemes, they wouldn't work if there wasn't a large fragment of the population that can be into it.
I am ashamed to admit that I've even had some of the products in my own home.
Yeah, I know I've definitely owned some Cutco knives in my life.
Oh
You
no,
know?
really?
Yeah, I mean, my parents
Oh,
had a set when we were younger.
I almost worked for them.
Yeah, I remember you almost working for them. I remember talking to you about how they were a scam. Like,
So maybe something fun to do would be to go around and talk about experiences we've had with multi-level marketing schemes.
sure. Well, I mean, Costco is, or not Costco. Cutco is
The warehouse of scams.
the warehouse of scams.
You buy your scams in bulk from Costco.
Yeah, I get
I
my
do.
scams wholesale. Yep. Um, I haven't had a whole lot of experience with MLMs aside from that. I haven't known a lot of family members or friends who have gotten into them, thankfully. Or if they have, they were wise enough to not approach me about joining or being a part of them. Um, so I don't really have a whole lot to say besides that Cutco knives are, you know what, they're mediocre knives at best, and they are ruining people's lives. So stay away from them.
Yeah, they definitely cost too much for what they are.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how about you, Wiggy?
Well, I almost did work for them. I
Right.
I was looking for my first job, and I walked in there, and uh, it was like a group setting. Like they had just a whole group of people in one room where they did a sales pitch to us. It was essentially a sales pitch to work,
Right.
right? And their biggest thing was like you have to have a car, you have to have this, that, and the other. And we're all like high school students, and half of us didn't have cars. Half of us like couldn't even like if we wanted to work for them, we couldn't.
Right. Right.
And so and so pretty much just stayed there. And then they were supposed to pay us for like just being there, which they never did. Um and then man, these calls, these robocalls, bro. Um which I know was one of Jackie's favorite topics. I'm forever. I'm getting at least 3 robocalls a day.
Damn.
Yeah, man.
And luckily I have a Pixel, so it tells me that it's a scam.
Yeah, that's a
It's really good at that.
life-saving feature. Like,
Yeah, it's really good.
I've surprisingly noticed less robocalls since I've switched back to a dumb phone. I don't know why that is.
that's interesting.
I like that. Maybe I should do that next.
Did you get a new number when you switched?
No, it's the same number, so I don't know how that happens. Maybe the filtering's happening at maybe they had to add filtering because dumb phones were getting so many things, and so they added a filtering like upstream somewhere since it can't run on my device.
That's very interesting.
But anyways, my close experience with this stuff is I almost worked for one too. I don't remember what the company was, but they
Was it Jenny Craig?
that's a good question. What did Jenny Craig do?
Weight loss, and it's
Oh, no,
geared toward
wasn't that one.
women.
Gotcha. No, I almost worked for one that was like textbook sales or something, or maybe like encyclopedias. I don't remember. It was for whatever reason. I guess one of my college professors had worked for it in the past when he was in school, and he let the person hand out business cards in class. So I went to their
Oh.
presentation, and I realized very quickly that they were giving a sales pitch to work there, and that probably meant that I wouldn't want to. Um, so it was door-to-door textbook sales. I don't know if it was really a pyramid scheme. I'm not sure if I had to buy the textbooks myself, but it was a very shitty job at least.
I feel like the door-to-door encyclopedia salesman of the like 1920s and 30s was the first real, probably not the first MLM, but the one that pops into mind when I think about like origin stories for the way it's done now. Like they would have to buy those books, haul them around from small little city to small little city, and you know I can imagine the excitement of it, which I think is something that they really build off of, is the excitement of doing it. You're spreading the knowledge of the world, and everybody's going to want a copy of these, and of
Right.
course it's a great idea. It's going to change everyone's lives, and I feel like that's a mainstay for MLM recruiting, is this idea that it's going to revolutionize the world and change your life, and you'll
You're
have
gonna
everything
own
you
your own
want.
business. You're
Yeah.
gonna make it rich. I wish people really knew.
Well, tell us, Jackie. Yeah, tell us how untrue it is. Let's get kicked off with MLMs.
Boy, okay. So we've all been there on social media. I feel like anyone that's listening to this has probably had social media. And so it all begins with the first message. For most women, that first message is, "Hey girl, how's it going?" And here's the thing. You used to be able to say, "Hey girl," and no one got freaked out, right? Because you could just be like, "Hey girl, what's up?" It's fine. It's just like, "Hey dude," or "Hey bro, how's it going?"
Right.
But on Facebook, when you were a woman about 10, 15 years ago, and some probably still now, "Hey girl, how's it going? Hey girl, what's up?" And then you get flooded with a bunch of emojis. If someone texts me with emojis, I still freak out because I'm like, what are you trying to sell me? If I haven't talked to you in the last 5, 10 years and I went to high school with you and you're messaging me, you're up to no good. All right.
Right.
I got your number. And so the way that it works most of the time is these multi-level marketing companies, the product is overpriced, it's mediocre, but the majority of the money for these people that are involved comes from recruiting people underneath them. And so when people are messaging you and they're trying to talk to you about their product, they're actually just trying to get you to sign up underneath them. And they're going to say, you can own your own business. You can make so much money. You're going to set your own goals. You're going to be able to hit all these bonuses and go on these great cruises. And like, if you sell Mary Kay, you could get like a Cadillac or something. You can get a pink SUV. And if you sell enough press-on nails, you can go on a cruise and you can bring your partner with you,
Right.
And so they sell these big dreams, the American dream, right? But for women especially, because I feel like it's a lot of women that get targeted by it, they focus on minority women, They focus on stay-at-home moms. They focus on military wives. And I hate to say it, but they all of these companies go for people that are less likely to be educated, because
Right.
if you're not as educated, you're not going to ask clarifying questions.
Yeah, and
So,
I think there is kind of a reverse element too, where you know, the worse off you are, the more likely you are just going to want to believe that you can own your own business and make it big.
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's packaging and selling the American dream there. You know, the only catch being you're only really trying to sell the American dream to other people as a result.
They go for all these people, but the group that I feel gets the most sucked into it is religious people of faith, because people in your church want to sell, and then they talk to you about it, and you're like, well, how could this person that I know from church steer me wrong?
Well, and that's the perfect demographic of people too, because that's exactly what, at least, Protestant Christian religion is selling the religion to other people and convincing them that it's the only thing that's going to save them, And when you've been trained thinking your whole life, it's a lot easier to go, well, I've been doing this here, obviously I should be, singing the praises of Mary Kay, and now that you bring that up, yeah, Mary Kay and stuff like that was just all over church growing up, like they would have, meetings at the church. It was so pervasive.
My grandmother is a example of that. She sold Mary Kay for forever. Never got anything out of it, obviously, and just tried really hard to do this stuff. And it's terrible how, like you're saying, people just get sucked into this when they're trying to do something good for themselves. But it's people really got to be aware that if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Yeah, and now that I'm thinking about the church stuff, for some reason I'm realizing maybe there were some other things that were being purchased or whatever at church that might have been LLMs. Like, is Pampered Chef an
Pampered Chef,
MLM?
absolutely.
Okay, and Tupperware?
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the
Okay.
first ones.
Yeah, I mean, these things were just all over my church. Yeah.
How about Amway?
I don't
Was
know what
that
that is.
Amway's one of the so Betsy DeVos, the woman that was the Secretary of Education, if you remember her family I believe they own Amway. I could be wrong.
What does Amway sell? What do they do?
They they have a catalog of goods that you can buy, from toilet paper, dishwasher, laundry soap, literally everything that you could ask for. Amway sells it. And in my opinion, Amway is probably the biggest cult. Because you could be like, here, this is crazy, but you could be at Walmart, right? Like minding your business. And someone could come up to you and be like, hey, I really like your shoes. Where'd you get them? Now, most of us, myself included, if someone came up to me and complimented my shoes, I'd be like, why are you looking at my feet? Right? Because I'm just trying to buy pasta, right?
Right.
But some people, they're like, oh, how nice a compliment. Oh, I love compliments. They make people feel good. They disarm people, right? And with that company in particular, with Amway, they will send people out into public places to connect with people and ask questions like, hey, do you have a job? Do you have any kids? And then they're like, hey, I know this person that went into business for himself and made like $1 million last year. You should really talk to my mentor.
Wow.
And
That's
they do it
crazy.
in stores everywhere. And then I go to like Panera, to get lunch. And I will see people in there with these books, because the Amway people have the same like success books, like how to get successful. And they'll be in there like holding their little training classes with people. And I try every time, much to my husband's dismay, to be like, hey, that's a scam. Don't do it. So
Wow.
That's bold and fun of you.
Have
Yeah,
you
it would
guys-
be confrontational in two
That would
ways,
be
but I would not.
I would love to be there with you when you're doing that. It'd be a lot of fun.
Oh no. Well, let me tell you a story real quick. So these scams, because multi-level marketing is one thing, but scams are everywhere. And especially in the area where we live, which I won't disclose, but in the general area where I am, there's a company that goes around collecting money for a popular anti-bullying charity that I'm not going to name. But I did some research, and it turns out that only 1% of all the donations go to that company. And anything under $5 that you donate goes directly to the charity. Everything over 20, I believe that company pockets and gives to their employees.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty common with charity. Like you really got to do your research when you give to charity because
Oh, yeah.
that's true for so many of them.
Yeah, I just yelled at him in the parking lot, though, at Market District. I was like, you're scamming people, right? Don't give them money. Don't give them money. It's not going to this charity. Go to their website. Don't give it to them. Don't give it to them. I haven't seen him back since.
I always want to do that to the Santa people who are outside grocery stores.
Is that not legit? Is the Santa stuff not legit?
Well,
I
I
mean,
think they are somewhat legit, but I also think they're like anti-gay.
Ooh, oh yeah, Salvation Army.
Yeah, it really depends on your views of the Salvation Army.
I'm not touching that.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's a
boy.
rough conversation for me because my uncle has been a pretty high-ranking member of the Salvation Army for his whole life, and like I am aware of the good they do because I do see like the tangible good that he's done in the world, but I'm also aware that like the way it's run and the way that the money is used is
It's-
not great,
Is this your uncle
and their
that I met?
views are. No, this would be my
Oh.
dad's brother. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, their views are kind of not super great, but they do things, So it's like, yeah, they give back, but they kind of have some things that you're like,
Yeah, a majority of the scams, or for charity specifically, you really have to pay attention to what percentage of the income goes to running the charity, versus what they give, right? Which is what you guys said. And if you really want to know about like the latest charity scams, you can go to gycpa.com, which is the charity fraud warning page for the IRS. And that will show you. There's also a lot of other websites that you can use to check whether or not how your charity is spending its money.
That's awesome. I didn't know about that.
Yeah. Also, I did look up Amway. So Betsy DeVos' husband, Richard Marvin DeVos Jr., aka Dick DeVos Jr., is a multi-billionaire heir to the Amway fortune, who he ran Amway's parent company, which was Alticor.
Appreciate the fact checking, Justin.
Yep, that's how I roll.
Well, no, I mean, I think that it is, though, the DeVos family then, because she took her husband's last name, it would seem, unless he took hers.
She definitely took his.
So it is it's the DeVos family. It's just not particularly her parents,
Right.
Right, yeah, she married into it.
she still benefits from it. Yeah.
Definitely.
So when you said that it was a core company, the reason why I had a little light bulb moment. So this is kind of a story. When I worked at Angie's List downtown, we had a big building that we worked in. And on the ground floor was an office that always had a bunch of people in suits. And let me tell you, at 8 o'clock in the morning, I was never awake. And I hated being down there because I was in sales, right? And I just didn't want to have to be at work. Sorry, Angie's List. But these people in this office were always so freaking hyped up, right? They were like pumping their fists in the air. They were screaming. They were shouting. They were ready for business. And so naturally, I researched this place because I'm like, these people are on drugs. This is not normal. And it turns out that this place was it was a type of company that goes to places like Costco and Walmart. But they also go door to door selling you like AT&T. And they are people that go to these places and offer samples. They do Cutco. They do demonstrations of pots and pans, whatever it is that the company wants them to sell for their client. They go and do it. And these companies are called sidecore companies. But most people that are aware of them call them double corp because they like Cutco will promise you that you're going to make a lot of money and you get to set your own appointments, right? And they bring you and like 20 other people into a room And they're like, well, we're very competitive. We're very competitive. We only want the best people. We don't choose a lot of people, but then everybody gets hired.
Right.
The revolving door at that place goes so fast that you can't keep people in. And so what they do is they hire these people and they don't pay them enough money. They send them out all day long with people from their office so that they're not really talking to people from outside of the office. You know, they keep it really close knit. They encourage the people in the office to live together to save money. They're spending all of their money on suits and things like that because they're not getting paid a lot because they're
Right.
told that if they work hard enough, they're going to open their own office. And it's just, it becomes a cult. And a lot of people are like, I've lost family members to this. And people are like, and their kids are like, no, mom, you're going to be so proud of me. I'm going to open my own office in Cincinnati. Okay, well, like 1% of the people get to open their office in Cincinnati, but they start this whole process all over again.
Right.
So it's crazy that like the three of you have had experiences with companies like that because, like, granted, you were younger, you know, but it's still one of those things where it's like, man, that opportunity sounds so good. I'm so desperate for work, right?
Right.
That you do just about anything, but not everybody realizes that it's actually fake.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to back you up just a second.
Sure.
This company that you saw in the office building, they're essentially a middleman for MLMs.
So the companies that they worked for weren't MLMs. How do I explain it? So like you own this office, right? And you want to do business, and you've got companies like AT&T and Cutco, I think, are like two of the ones that I can think of.
But you're saying Cutco. Cutco is an MLM, right?
No,
Yeah,
Cutco's not
they
an
are and they aren't. Like they
MLM.
this so what she's describing is what people who get into selling Cutco get sucked into are these little
I see.
yeah,
It's a
these little
different
tiny
scam.
companies that are essentially like the arms and legs of these other companies.
I see.
Yeah.
So Cutco. So AT&T is a legitimate company. Let's just assume that. I mean, maybe there's some people who would disagree, but AT&T is a legitimate company here, and Cutco is selling knives essentially so that these tiny little MLM companies can buy them and then run their scams.
Right. I mean, sometimes it's complicated.
But you can buy a Cutco knife on Amazon if you really want to.
Sure,
Sure.
you could. You could also go to a Cutco store. Like they have physical stores as well.
I see. Okay,
yeah.
so like they are, for all intents and purposes, a legitimate company, but they have to be aware of the fact that they're a very popular, like, let's buy these so that our sellers can resell them.
Well, so basically, what this like Devil Corp company does, this Sidecore company does, they do door to door sales like most MLM scams, for like AT&T, Direct Energy, and other things like phones, vitamins, and random crap like that. They do door to door, so they're selling actual product from their vendor.
Okay.
Whereas if you're selling things like multi-level, like Tupperware or Unique, Scentsy, Color Street, Arbonne, Mary Kay, LuLaRoe, right? You're selling a product that you've had to purchase, like you've had to purchase that inventory to sell it.
Right.
So these, the thing like Cutco, you're working for this parent company that wants you to sell the knives. So while it is scammy, it doesn't necessarily fall under the MLM umbrella because you're not hiring people, you're not recruiting people underneath you to sell underneath you. You're just going
Sure.
to sell the knives, as opposed to like Mary Kay, where you're trying to get people underneath you to sell the makeup so that you get a cut of what they sell, if that makes more sense.
Right. Okay. So like there's certain products that are commonly used for these, but it seems like the way they maybe try to avoid regulation is by selling their products for real in the traditional like way to sell, not pyramid schemey. Like Cutco wants to make sure they keep selling their knives. I mean, I would be curious to see how much of their business comes from pyramid schemes versus how much comes from legitimate customers, like for their main business. That would be very interesting to know. But they want to keep some legitimate business so that it can appear that they're not aware of this, I guess.
Well, they start off with the door-to-door sales and stuff, right? Like, so they're when they're a young company, that's how they start off because they don't have money for a physical place or marketing or whatever the case is. So that's how they start off, and that's how they spread. And then eventually, if they get enough money, they work to make themselves more legitimate over time. Like, it's not only a cost saving measure, but it's also a way to run your business in the cheapest way possible so that it can grow.
Right.
And when you're scamming that many people at once, then it makes it really easy for you to grow your brand, as long as you don't get put in a bucket of being called an MLM or as for the rest of this conversation, I'm just going to keep saying pyramid schemes because that's what
It's
they
fine,
are.
yeah.
Even though Jackie says no, they're pyramid schemes.
They are. No, they
And-
are. They are. You're right.
It's just kind of an antiquated term. Like,
Well, the reason why I don't call them pyramid schemes is because a few decades ago, there was an attempt to pass legislation to call them pyramid schemes, but it failed. Which is why they're not, like, for all of us in this conversation, we know they're pyramid schemes, but technically their classification is multi-level marketing. So that's
I see.
Yeah, that's the only reason why I call them that, because I bet you one person out there that's going to listen to this is going to be like, my XYZ home business is not a pyramid scheme, and would you like to buy some press-on nails? There's at least one person, and for that one person who's listening, I want to be very honest with you. If you haven't turned this off already, what you've been talked to by your friends or whoever led you to the product that you're trying to sell, I feel for you. I do, because you went in thinking that this was going to be a great opportunity. And I'm sure that there were people out there that tried to warn you, and they said, don't listen to them. They're just jealous. They're just bitter. They didn't work hard enough when they tried to do it. Whatever their excuse was to get you to not listen, I get it. But the market is saturated. So many people out there are trying to sell these same products as you. And let me tell you, you don't get to set your own prices. You don't get to keep your own profits. You don't get to brand them the way that you want to. Babe, you want to be a boss, but this isn't a business. You got sucked into selling something for somebody else, and you are never going to see that money that they promised you that you were going to make. If you need help getting out, you can email the podcast and they will get you in touch with me, and I will help you find the income disclosure statements. I will help you find a way out, because there's always a way out of these scams, out of these pyramid schemes. But no one in this conversation is putting the blame on you for getting involved in it. We're just trying to bring light to the fact that these things do exist and how easy it is to get sucked into them. I want to make that very clear. I'm not judging you. And if you have questions, if you want to get out, there is a way, and I will help you.
yeah, this conversation isn't meant to shame anyone who is caught up in these. This is meant to shame the companies that are doing it.
Certainly.
Totally. If you want to talk about it and tell me that I'm wrong, dude, bring it. I will talk to you about you know what? You can email me for dog training advice. You want to talk about how to season your chicken? I'm cool with it. Please don't send me your dicks.
Yeah, no doubt.
I don't want those. Maybe when you go through, just edit that out. You can leave in the first part the mail at.
No, we're leaving that in. So please email her so that we can have a follow-up episode on these emails.
I would love that.
Also, just a word of warning to anyone out there thinking about emailing her: you're not going to win. All right,
No.
It's not going to happen. You're not going to convince her of anything. She knows what's going on here.
There's a lot of years under my belt.
If you want to email somebody to convince somebody, just email us at podcast@thepandapod.com, and I'll forward it over to Jeff. It is so easy to convince him of anything, so just send it our way, and I'll make sure it gets over to him.
This is going to become a knife selling podcast real fast.
Yeah, I've got a great opportunity I want to discuss with you guys.
Is it a monorail?
No, it's a series of tubes underground.
Isn't Musk already doing that?
Yeah. It's,
What, a monorail? Or the
No.
tubes?
I
The
mean,
tubes
technically,
is
it's
doing it.
both.
Well, the monorail's from The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know anything about the tubes. I need to research the tubes.
What is that called? What's Musk's
Hyperloop.
underground? Hyperloop, yeah.
Oh man, but would it actually make things better? Like that's the question.
No.
All the MLM people can get around a lot faster.
That's true, yeah. If they have an MLM express lane, it could really work out well for them.
Well, we got a HOV lane. We don't have them in here where I live.
If you stack up the products that you've bought high enough in the passenger seat, it counts as another person.
Perfect.
I'm gonna try that.
So
Yeah.
So I have some other scams. These are newer, slightly newer scams that I want to talk about a little bit and get your guys' thoughts on. Okay, so these are relevant like with today's climate. Okay, speaking of climate, the first one is lots of people are currently using the weather disasters. Um, as a way to scam people out of money. Everything from um, false insurance sales, from um, false construction companies. They're all going out and trying to get money from these people who have suffered weather disasters. You know, the wildfires in Hawaii, the hurricanes that have been ravaging the southeast of America. And every time something like this happens, a new scammer, a new group of scammers pop up. Um, and so, how do you think these guys are doing that? And what kind of money do you think they're actually scamming people out of?
You know that even up here in the Midwest, when the tornadoes come through, the roofing companies come out. Heck, when hail comes through, they're always like, "We're going to be in your neighborhood checking the roofs." Okay, go to the next house. Um, but when it comes to things like the hurricanes, I mean, heck, even Maui, where like this place has been obliterated, right? And you're right; these people just show up to take advantage of the good nature of people that want to help, and they set up fake funds and like platforms like, hey, donate money here. um, and honestly, I think they're making bank because
Yeah, I would agree.
yeah.
Like
But
fake GoFundMe's and stuff. Is that what you're talking about?
well, that sometimes offering fake services, accepting money, and then disappearing. I think it's important to note that not everyone who goes out to make a profit off of natural disasters is a monster. Like some people's livelihoods are just built on fixing things that were broken by natural disasters. You know, that's okay. But I mean, there are situations where people go out and, they've got a skeleton crew of people that they show up with saying, hey, we can fix your blah, blah, blah. We just need blah 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 to get it going. They get that money and they disappear. Or getting phone calls after your house has been destroyed by a natural disaster from an insurance company, that, or a fake insurance company, and getting scammed out of premiums, and then they disappear and never do anything.
Wow.
Those kind of things happen pretty frequently. And even on a grander scale, those kinds of things happen to the US government. People who take advantage of like the COVID relief funds, and the way back to Hurricane Katrina, there were allegedly, if I remember correctly, like hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars that were lost to work that was promised to be done and never done, and nobody ever saw anything from it.
Wow.
So I mean, it's a pretty lucrative market for people that are scummy enough and savvy enough to do it.
Sure, I shouldn't be surprised by that stat about Hurricane Katrina, but oh man, that is crazy.
Yeah, not to mention, this also happens on a global scale. So what happens is, take Afghanistan, for example, right? Like, so we go over there, we're blowing up buildings, we're decimating towns, we're doing all this stuff, and then when when the fighting's done, what happens is there's a relief effort afterwards, right? Because the people are destitute, the people are like they're not working because their country was just destroyed, their homes are in disrepair, there's all these problems. And so the US government goes, okay, we have all this work to do in Afghanistan, and then they go ahead and start doing the bidding process, right? So there's the big bidding process where companies bid on work for the U.S. government, and a lot of times these companies will just pop up out of nowhere. People that have no experience doing anything, they create a company, they make a bid on a project, the government will pay them, and then they either won't go over there and do any work, or they'll go over there and do a really shitty job and go home and pocket all
Wow.
the money. So it happens even on a global scale.
Sure. Yeah.
I feel like maybe scam isn't the right term for a lot of this, though. It's more on like a fraud level
Yeah.
than a scam level, you know?
Yeah, I guess like an MLM, they're legally allowed to operate. So does that make it technically not a scam? Like or is there any legal definition of a scam?
That's a good question. I don't know if there's a legal definition or not. Like,
I can totally Google it. Like,
yeah, I would say intuitively inside me, I feel like a scam would be something that directly affects like an individual.
according to law.com or dictionary.law.com, a scam is a noun, and it is the intentional use of deceit, a trick, or some dishonest means to deprive another of his, her, or their money, property, or legal right.
Yeah, it's also in dictionary.com. Oxford says it's a dishonest scheme or a fraud.
Right. And I'm looking at the legal definition of a fraud, and it seems like it's the deliberate misinterpretation of fact for the purpose of depriving someone of a valuable possession.
So I would say MLMs are a scam.
Yeah, maybe they're like really the same thing.
Yeah.
Just legally, somehow these companies are able to get through the loophole and stay going.
Right. I mean, obviously, it can make them money even with the risk of being caught, or else those companies wouldn't be scamming the U.S. government.
Yeah, so I Googled how much money was lost in Hurricane Katrina to these scams, and the U.S. Government Accountability Office, the GIO, said that it estimated up to 1.4 billion of the initial 7 billion FEMA provided dollars in Katrina assistance was lost to fraud. That is a huge chunk.
That's 20%.
Yeah.
And that's money that came out of our pockets. You know,
Right.
that's tax dollars there.
It was
And
awesome.
I certainly would want the money to come out of my pockets go to victims and not to this.
Sure.
Right, like that's one of the main things I want my tax dollars to go to, where is social services and helping people, and knowing that we can't even trust the government to get that right. That's really frustrating.
Yeah.
So another one, off of the housing. So another one that's happening a lot right now, is the SCOTUS decision on student loan debt. So scammers are now calling people to try to get them to set up payment plans and give them money for their student loans, without actually having anything to do with their loans. They essentially just throw out numbers and get people to try to give them money. When you can definitely go to the FSA, the Federal Student Aid website, and go to your own account dashboard using your information and actually get your actual loan servicer, where you can talk to them about that. But there's lots of scamming going on right now, over student loan debt relief, which is really sad because it's destroying our country.
Right. There's a deadline of I think October 4th for people to begin making their payments again, since it was on. It had been, I think, because of COVID, it was put on hold. Right, the payments.
Yeah,
for
it's
it?
been on hold for more than 3 years. And so
Yeah.
some people surely have forgotten who their servicer is, or had their loan sold probably multiple times during that period.
Yeah, probably many times, really.
Yeah, loan servicers have actually been switched. There's actually some that stopped, some servicers that have actually stopped servicing loans. Like they know they don't do it anymore, so those loans are being transferred to new places. So a lot of the times people don't even know who their new loan servicer is, which is why you should definitely go to the FSA website,
Yeah.
which is studentaid.gov, by the way, and figure out who your loan servicer is.
Right. So this particular scam is really kicking off right now because we're in the month before people have to begin making those payments again. So I mean they're getting phone calls from multiple people saying that they're either the same company or trying to convince you that, hey, we bought your loan and you have to pay us now, and it's just not true.
And if you get those phone calls, do not give them your money. Do not confirm any of your information. Hang up and go directly to the source. Like you
Yeah.
said, like don't, because you'll just get the money and then you'll have to pay it again.
Right. Yeah.
And
You'll
you'll just be
lose
pissed
twice
off.
as much.
Yeah. Don't do it.
Also, go and check your FAFSA stuff on that website anyway, because there was also a credit period, and this is not scam related at all, but there was a credit period during this time off, and you might be surprised at how low your current student loan is, because part of it is going to be paid off. All of it didn't from the Biden plan, but I mean, a chunk of it could be gone. I've already heard from at least one person I know who mentioned that they went and checked it because it was time to start making payments again, and they found that their payment it's gone, like it had been paid off. Like, so it's worth checking.
I wish I could get a refund for the payments that my dad made for mine.
Yeah,
That'd be cool. I'm sure he'd like that.
Yeah, the government loves just handing out money after they get it. That's
Do
definitely
they?
something that they like to do. Yeah, they love doing that.
Okay, well, they can hand some to me.
Yeah, I would
please.
like some money.
Yeah.
Money, please.
Yeah. Okay, well,
One money,
so
please.
talking about the government and talking about scams, so COVID scams.
Oh,
So during COVID, the U.S. government gave billions of dollars to people and to companies. The scam side of it comes from the company side, obviously. So what happened was a lot of companies applied for extra aid where they would be given money to make sure that they could pay their employees. Well, a lot of people, a lot of companies who first didn't need the money took the money anyway. And number two, companies took the money and didn't pay their employees. And now there are tons and tons and tons of court cases out there where these companies are now being sued by the government and being thrown in jail on top of it. So, yeah, so that was the thing too.
So what's the scam portion there? Like, obviously it was fraud on their part, but how is this affecting people? Are lawyers calling like to fake representing cases, or?
I mean, I feel like we kind of got scammed by it because it's our money that we pay in from taxes, and companies that didn't need it applied for it and took it when they didn't need it to survive.
Correct.
Yeah,
it's
that is
tax.
true.
It's tax dollars that they were stealing.
Sure.
So once again, where money could be going to a place where it needs to go, instead went to a lot of companies that didn't need the money in the first place, or lied to make sure that they could get free money.
And did you know that there's a website and it's projects.propublica.org/coronavirus/bailouts, where you can go and search and see any company that got approved for the PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program. So if you want to know if your boss is kind of scummy, not that they all are, because some small businesses genuinely needed it, but
Right.
out of the $790 billion that was approved for these loans, $757 billion has been forgiven.
Wow.
So I'm just saying, like, I pay my taxes, and that's a big chunk of money that's not going to be paid back. And there's a lot of programs that could really use that.
Well, that's actually really close to. I mean, if we take in numbers from like 2019, that was really close to the actual defense budget for the year.
Holy cow, really?
That's how much money that is.
Wait,
I'm surprised the
700
defense-
billion?
That's gross.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's basically just a handout to keep all the companies actually working, so they didn't just fall apart. I guess that's what it was intended for, right?
It was intended to make sure that people could still live while not being able to work. But instead what happened was the owners decided to just take the money, because since their business wasn't operating, they weren't making any money, so they took it as profit instead of giving it to their employees so their employees could live.
Right. They took the money and then just fired people anyways.
Yep.
Yeah. And I wonder if that is the real intention ultimately. Like, the stated intention is what you said, to give it back to employees. But I mean, I feel like somebody high up had to realize, like, we can't let every business go under, or else we're going to have a revolution on our hands or something like that.
I'd say a scam I would really like to talk about is like tech support scams. I mean, everybody gets into those, right?
Like
Oh,
when
before we get off
Elaborate.
government
Yeah,
scams, I remember it's a way that I'm pretty sure I've been scammed. Should
Oh,
I
let's
bring
hear
that up real
that.
quick?
Yeah, for
yeah.
sure.
So this was after we moved out of Maryland, and we had some problem with the DMV where we had to like send our plates back or something. And I think somehow a third party company found out that we didn't give our plates back. I don't know exactly how. Maybe maybe the Maryland state government like sells it to a debt collector or something. But we ended up having to pay like $600. And we were just so stressed out with the move and everything that we didn't think about it. And then when I thought about it later, I was like, did they really levy a $600 fee against somebody who just moved out of the state that they have no way of really collecting on?
Yeah, that sounds pretty scammy to me. I can't think of any reason why you'd have to pay $600 for returning some plates.
Right.
You know, that's like more than the plates cost.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure that it was $600 for not returning them or not returning them on time or something like that. But still, it was pretty absurd.
I don't know why you'd have to return a plate in the first place. I've never even heard of that.
A lot of states
But
want you to do it, but
Yeah,
I kept
Maryland
mine.
requires that you do it, but we didn't do it in time.
yeah, that's a new one to me. That's crazy. That's crazy for sure. So Jeff, what is this IT scam?
Well, just tech support scams in general, or
Like phishing and stuff?
warranty scams. No, like getting an email or a phone call from somebody likely in India who is just trying to scam you out of some money. You know what I mean? Like, surely you guys have been hit with these things, like emails that contain fake invoices. Um,
Oh,
you
those all
got
go to my spam folder. Google's good about that,
You
so I
mean-
don't
Right.
see those that
Google
often.
could
You
be
mean all
better
those
about it.
receipts that I get from the Geek Squad at Best Buy aren't real? I get like 8 of those a
Yeah.
day, dude.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. But you mean they've got to be working, right? Like, there's a couple of streamers I like to watch who like hunt down these scammers and like expose them and turn them into like local authorities. But I mean, this is something that has affected me for sure, in that my mother's fallen prey to them. I know lots of
No.
other people whose families have. Um, it's just, you get a phone call, they say, "Hey, we're from Microsoft normally," or something along those lines. We see that you have a virus on your system that needs to be cleared, or else you're going to lose everything in your bank account because they're getting ready to hack you. If you pay us $400, we can get this fixed real quick.
Right.
And those things happen all the time.
Yeah, that's a pretty sad one. I mean, and also in a similar vein, the scam. I don't know if you've ever heard about this one, the telemarketing scam where they pretend to be like you calling from prison and they call your grandparents. Have you heard about
Yes,
Oh yeah,
yes.
yeah, that's an old one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's called the grandparent scam. Actually, this is on the FTC website, because I had elder fraud pulled up, because it's, sorry to say it, but it's pretty easy to get
Yeah.
the elder, because they fall out of touch with tech. It's moving so fast.
it? Right.
So yeah, they'll call and say like, "Hey, Grandpa, it's me. I'm in trouble and I need money for bail." Which makes me feel bad, because I once pretended I was in jail for April Fools, and that was not funny. I didn't ask for money though.
Yeah, that's nice of you.
Yeah, you should have.
Sorry, friend Larry, all these years later, if you hear this. Yeah, and they'll call you and they'll be like, "You have to send us money right now, and you have to do it by going to Target and buying $300 in gift cards."
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
those
man.
are.
And I guess that's another one that's probably just gonna like increase with AI.
Oh, for sure.
Ooh,
Yeah, like
yeah.
we are seeing a lot more like in the spiritual community of AI driven spiritual scams, like people reaching out saying, "Hey, my guides told me I need to speak with you. There's a curse on you." And like it sounds so dumb. Like, who's gonna fall for that? But I mean, there are just sad, vulnerable people out there, just desperate for anything. trying to get out of whatever is over their head and paying, $60-$80 to somebody to do a ritual for you and cleanse this cure from your family line. It sounds great, but
Right.
those are very AI driven. Like, you can tell because they always start out the same, they progress in the same way. Like, just it's really gross to watch.
I was gonna say, so there's chatbots. That's one aspect of AI, but I was talking about AI to mimic people's voices. I mean, they're probably
Oh,
calculating how to scam my grandma as we speak, releasing this many hours of recording. They probably only need one of these podcasts to like
Yep.
perfectly mimic my voice and say that I'm in a prison.
Look, if they
It's
can make
true.
Eric Cartman sing, then we're all screwed. Like,
Those are amazing, by
I
the
know,
way.
they
So
are.
I've spent so much time on TikTok listening to those things. It's crazy.
The Evanescence one is out of this world. Like,
Yeah, it's really good.
it is. But that's
You're gonna have to send that to me because I have
scary.
not seen it.
We'll find it. We'll send it to you.
Yeah,
It is really scary though. But
Yeah.
because you're right, like our voices are easily mimicked. My mom got fooled by a Gary Busey deepfake last week.
What?
Yes.
Wow.
I
Wait,
you know
I need
what?
to hear more. Why does your mom think she was talking to Gary Busey?
She
What was
no.
going on
Mom
here?
didn't think she was talking to Gary Busey. I'm gonna have to send this
Okay.
to her now when this goes out. So mom and I, our main communication is we send each other reels on Instagram. And so she sent me one about, I think, Gary Busey yelling about hot dogs or something. And I thought it was funny because I love Gary Busey. It's no secret. I think he's great. I didn't notice that it was a deep fake because he wasn't blinking. But she sent me the second one on Facebook, and I was like, Mom, this isn't real. And I'm pretty sure the last one wasn't real either. And she goes, oh, shit, how did I not notice? But that's just, if I didn't notice, then
I've seen these.
Wow.
I think that's Gary Busey.
you think it's not.
I really
dude.
do. I think that he's just a bit fried and
A
he's saying
bit?
some wild stuff. Like, I don't know. Do you know what happened to Gary Busey? Like, why he is the way he is?
No, can you tell me?
Yeah, he was in a terrible accident
Oh, no.
and has brain damage and hasn't been the same since. This
When was that?
A really long time ago. Like, I don't know exactly when. Wiggy, look it up. But yeah, he was in an accident, and it's just progressively getting worse and worse.
Oh, that's
you know,
sad. I
so
really like him.
I do think that was actually Gary Busey.
I'll send it to you.
Those videos were great. I had a pretty good laugh at them, and also a
Okay.
little bit of
I'm going to go find it and send it to you right now.
Okay.
Yeah, we can figure out if they're real or not.
So Gary Busey on December 4th, 1988 was severely injured in a motorcycle accident in which he was not wearing a helmet
Oof.
and suffered permanent brain damage.
Wear
Yeah,
a helmet,
and-
kids.
Yeah, definitely wear a helmet, and maybe just don't ride motorcycles. They're fucking dangerous.
Where's
Like,
your
Yeah.
Instagram?
And then also completely unrelated, but also inside of the paragraph where I found this information, it also notates that 8 years later in 1996, he also publicly announced he was a Christian. So whether or not that's related, I'm not sure, but that it was in the same paragraph. So
Well, maybe Jesus healed his brain damage.
Jeff, I
No.
sent it to you on Instagram.
the Gary Busey thing.
The one of them, not the other one. But like, no one
Okay.
else in here says that it's a deep fake. So I mean, you might be right, but this man is yelling about buttered sausage.
Yeah, the buttered sausage thing. Yes,
Yeah,
I
is it
have seen
real?
it. It's so funny.
Is it real?
It is real.
Oh my
Yeah,
God,
It was taken from a
what?
podcast. He was being interviewed for a podcast.
Yeah, but the Jeff Richards. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
guys, you have to understand his eyes. The man never
He
blinks.
does not blink. Yeah.
And so I was like,
He's
it's got to
got
be
the
a
wildest
deep
look.
fake. So now we gotta go find one.
Yeah, now you can tell your mother she didn't get scammed
No,
by
hold on now. No, here's another one. Hold on, where are you at? How do you don't have Facebook anymore? Shoot, yeah, you do. No, you don't. Whatever. The point is, listen, it's scary.
It's
Like-
Gary.
It's scary.
Scary.
It's
So we're getting a little late into the episode, and I know there is one more scam that is dear to Jackie's heart and something that we wanted to touch on, and that is these text scams that involve women and men who have been trafficked from other countries and forced to do these scams. Jackie, can you tell us a little more about that?
like Jeff was saying, the pig butchering scam is one that has been on the rise lately. And I know that a few of us on this podcast have personally gotten these text messages before. So it always starts the same, or at least it has for me. I get a text message that says like, hey Jordan, or hi Dan, or something completely innocuous, right? It looks like a wrong number. And what it is there's these people that have been taken hostage, trafficked in other countries, and they are being forced to send out hundreds of thousands of text messages to phone numbers in the United States. And they will pretend that they are a person. They will send fake pictures. They will build a relationship with you. This is right up there with like romance scams where someone says that they're someone that they're not, and they constantly need money. And they will ask you to send money, and then nothing. But with the pig butchering scams, it's especially dangerous because they promise high investment returns within a short period, and they will ask you to send money, and you send it, and then it's gone. So basically,
Yeah.
they'll send you a text message out of the blue, and they'll try to move the conversation to WhatsApp or another social media site. They avoid video calling with multiple excuses, or they refuse outright. And then they start talking about their insider investment knowledge, right? So they're like, yeah, I know this awesome crypto where you can make a ton of money.
No, I was just gonna say the path that I've seen for these most frequently is I'm actually looking at one that I got on Friday right now.
Nice.
Yeah, and I interacted with them a bit just to kind of get something out of them. But this, I'll just read it to you. This is very much like every conversation I've had with one of these people has gone, and you'll see that I call it out here. I got a text, just random text, said hi. I said new phone, who dis? And they said, are you Maria? I'm Lena. I said, I'm not. I said, God, did I remember the wrong number? That's what they said. And I said, seems so. Best of luck reaching them. And then, of course, they continue. I'm so sorry to disturb you. I hope you don't mind. And I just went ahead and dug into it. I was like, where in China are you from? Because they always say they're from China, and then they always say they're from Shanghai, and that, oh, you should come to China and visit. We'd have a great time. I'll show you around. That's how these always happen for me. And they were like, how did you know I'm from China? I'm from Shanghai. And I was like, and how is New York treating you? Because they always say, oh, I'm in New York right now from China.
Yep.
And there's like, I'm fine. And then I started going into them with like a version of the spiritual scam. I started sending them pictures of tarot cards, like I was doing a tarot reading for them.
God, I love you.
And just like, oh, I see a great curse over you, oh, the death card. And they're like, what is happening? I don't like this. And I was like, yeah, well, maybe you shouldn't be a scammer then. And they never text me back. So, but I mean, that happens. I get those 2-3 times a week easily, sometimes multiple times in the same day.
Damn.
So, like, one of the ones that I got in July said, good morning, Ellen. I'm Alyssa, and my aunt asked me to contact you about a model hired for a party. And I sent back a screenshot of Google of the pig butchering scheme, and they sent me 2 question marks, and they didn't contact me again. The other one that I got said, hey, and I sent a picture of my dog watching the Discovery Channel on TV. And they said, I'm Zoe, are you Henry? And I sent I sent 2 links. One was to like the financial fraud website for the government, and then the other one was humantraffickinghotline.org, because I know that they're being trafficked. I know what's up. And after that last one, they haven't contacted me since, and that was in July. So I think they kind of put me on, I think they put me on their do not contact or something, or they like pulled my phone number.
Oh, wow.
Ooh, maybe this most recent time that I fucked with them, they won't reach back out and mess with me anymore.
Yeah.
Well, do you think that maybe like it does help the victims in some way to send that human trafficking link?
That's why I do it. I feel for them. Like that, they don't want to do that. It's just like if you're working at, a fast food place and someone comes in and yells at your ass after they get there from church, like, listen, dude, like, just be cool. And so I
Right.
know that those people don't want to be doing that. It's dehumanizing. The living situations are horrible. They are literally slaves. They
Right.
can't leave. They get no sunlight. They're barely eating. They don't get to see their family. They're hostages.
Yeah.
And so
don't fuck with those people.
yeah, don't fuck
You
with them.
know,
But
don't
like,
fuck with them.
don't
Give them
be
a
mean to
break.
them. Yeah, like, but
Just block them.
yeah.
Do be mean to the Indian scammers though, and the Nigerian scammers, because they're doing it out of a love of being miserable pricks.
Dude, when they call
Do
on the
fuck
phone,
with those people.
when they call on the phone and I'm like, I know you're a scammer, and then they start to swear at me, I'm like, all right, let's do it.
Yeah,
Oh, I love it.
it is kind of fun to like get them riled up. Like the thing about the Twitch streams and the YouTube streams I like to watch is they really fuck with the people.
Sure.
they make them spend literal hours going back and forth thinking they're going to get money out of this, and then
Yep.
when they find out that they're not, like,
Oh, they get
it's
so mad,
chef's
dude.
kiss good. Yeah.
I saw one YouTuber / TikTok guy who was doing that exact same thing, but he was extremely tech savvy, and so he was able to locate the caller's call center, and he just kept dialing numbers into the call center and then trying to scam those people.
Oh my god, I wish I had the time for that. Oh, I would
Yeah,
do it all
and
day.
I
they're-
mean,
they're really
you
fun to
could
watch.
make it a living. Apparently, you just got to know what you're doing.
I mean, I don't have time for that, man. Like,
True.
I mean, yeah, I binge watched 2 seasons of Yellow Jackets in 2 days, but like, I have stuff going on, you know?
So the one you probably saw, Wiggs, was a guy named Jim Browning. He has it's at Jim Browning on YouTube, and I mean, this guy does amazing work. He hunts down the places. He will plant his own viruses on their systems to backdoor into them. He'll spy on them using their own cameras in their buildings. He will mess with their computers while they're trying to, actively scam him. And then eventually he turns them into the authorities. And like, you can even sometimes watch the raid happening. From the authorities coming in and getting them. So
Dude.
it's,
Yeah,
it's
you're
really,
Is that
really
a-
fun to
Is that a
watch.
thing? You get to
Yeah,
watch
I think
the
you're
It
right.
is. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. He's got a really good playlist called Spying on the Scammers.
Oh.
It's like a 5-part video, and it's really, really good.
Yeah, I think that was the same guy, because he was there was one where he was talking to somebody and he was like, I really like your red shirt or whatever, and the guy hung up on him. This is really funny.
And it's great because when he hacks into them, he gets in their PBX too, which is their phone system, and so he can see what numbers they're using. They can't block him because he can just unblock himself,
Oh, my God.
or just look at a different number they have. It's great. It's so good.
You're
Oh,
right. I'm
man.
looking at this on YouTube. I'm going to have to watch this later. The other guy on Twitch that I was thinking of was Kit Boga.
Yeah, Kit Boga's kind of a jerk, but
Yeah.
again, he's being jerk to really awful people, so it's okay.
I can't take him seriously with those sunglasses, but like respect at the same time. So
Yeah. And there's another one I watch called Scammer Payback on Twitch and YouTube as well, and he does a really good job too.
Yeah, so based on this, so not that long ago I got a phone call, and it was a guy it was a collections type thing,
ugh.
and I don't owe anything. So
must
this
be
guy
nice.
was like, hey, I'm calling about this debt, whatever, and he's like, you need to pay me now. And super aggressive, right? Like,
Yeah.
just crazy aggressive. And I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna hang up and dial the company's number so that I can verify you're not a scam. And he's like, I have your credit. I have your credit.
Okay.
He's like, I can destroy your credit. And I'm like, no, I'm gonna hang up and call the company. He's like, I can just push this button. And I'm like,
Do
all right,
it.
dude, all right, bro. But he got so mad. And that's my favorite one at the moment. If you don't recognize who you're being called from, you can always hang up and dial whatever customer service number, and they can verify if you're getting a call or not. So
Right.
Yeah.
definitely do that. Definitely utilize these resources. The BBB, the FCC,
Or
studentaid.gov,
or
whatever.
utilize your friends or your family as well. Like, yes, utilize those websites, but if you aren't totally tech savvy like we are, because we are children of the internet age,
You got called government.
I got called at government. All right, cool. But like, if you're maybe like my grandma and you call the Bluetooth symbol the sideways bow tie, maybe just reach out to like your grandkids or your kids or just people that you trust to make good decisions, and they can help you research this because it's not always obvious. I've
No,
definitely gotten
oftentimes it's
scammed
not.
a few times, but I think that's why I get so pissed off about it.
I
Right.
definitely think you should do exactly what Jackie says and make sure you're utilizing your friends and family. However, if you call the Bluetooth symbol a blue bow tie and you're
Sideways bow
listening to
tie.
a sideways bow tie and you're listening to a podcast, I'm confused.
It's
This
'cause-
podcast in particular.
It's because I'm going to
This
link
one in
it to her,
particular.
and she's going to be like, I can't believe you told him that.
These gentlemen need to talk louder.
But also in that same vein, if your family is the one that is trying to sell you like knives or Tupperware or lipstick, feel free to reach out to people that might not sell it. Use the
Right,
internet.
yeah.
There's actually a Reddit. I don't always love Reddit, especially lately with the platform changes. However, there is a subreddit called Anti-MLM, and you can go there and search, and there are stories about income disclosure statements. You can even Google like thing name and MLM question mark, like dog MLM, and it'll tell you if a dog is an MLM or not. Like there are so many companies out there that are companies and people, charities that are out there that want to take your money because you're a good person. And the onus is on you, unfortunately, to make sure that you are researching before you give your money, your hard-earned money, to these assholes. Please don't
Right.
do it.
I think that it's good practice in general to circulate your abundance, but be wise when doing so. I think
Okay.
that it's important to be charitable and to give and to do these things, and even if it's just helping out your friends, that's great to do. But helping your friends out by buying a bunch of makeup or nails or whatever that you don't really need isn't doing you any good, and
It's not
it's
helping
only
them.
right. It's only
Right.
furthering them into this idea that this is going to work when the statistics simply say that it will not. So just be wise and be kind to yourself. If you're a part of this, be compassionate to yourself, because hey, a lot of people have been caught up in it.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
just be good to yourself and be good to others, and you'll find that these things aren't happening to you as much, I think. So
And on the other side of scams, the telemarketing ones that ask for money, they try to fix a virus, all that stuff, I feel like it's relatively rare that you're ever in a situation where you do owe money and it has to be done now.
Yeah.
Like
right, I would say
immediately.
that there's never a situation unless your child really is in prison.
And in
Well,
which
sure, but
case,
then you go down to the prison most of the time.
Right, yeah,
Right.
go bail them out in person. Don't send them money.
yeah,
Right,
if anyone ever, please God, if there's one thing that you're going to take from this podcast, if anyone ever wants you to pay them something and the currency is in gift cards, it is a scam. It is a scam. It is a scam. Don't do it.
Nobody is paying Microsoft in Robux. Okay, it's not happening.
Shit, man.
Okay, so I guess on that note, thank you so much, everybody, for listening to the Panda Pod. And Jackie, do you have anything you want to plug before we go?
I don't want to plug competitive podcasts.
No, do it.
No, please.
Okay.
Is it a podcast that you love?
We
Yeah.
have no competition.
Okay, well, this podcast especially isn't a competition because it's a completely different topic, but similar but different. There is one podcast that I think everyone would enjoy if you enjoyed any part of this, and it is called The Dream. And The Dream is literally two women that sit down and talk about a bunch of different scams and multi-level marketing things, and it's great. There's also Lula Rich, which is an Amazon series, and there's also a Netflix documentary, which is called Betting on Zero, and that is about Herbalife fronts that go up in communities and take advantage of citizens there. And all three of those things are very good.
Wow, that's cool. And I like that you plugged nothing to self-promote. It's just completely, fun or fun ideas of similar things to listen to, and also, educate yourself about scams.
Yeah, I don't have anything to self-promote unless you want to see Murph, but he's, a dog. I actually have an email at the Panda Pod.
Yeah,
I
that's
do.
true.
And that is Jackie at the
At thepandapod.com.
at
Yeah.
thepandapod.com. So if you
Yeah.
want to reach me and tell me how I'm wrong, please do it there. I would love to talk to you.
Also, everybody, Jackie is our admin on our Discord channel. So if you want to get
Yeah.
on our Discord and chat with Jackie, you can do that.
Oh my gosh, you could come fight with me there. 1v1 me on the Discord. Or
Yeah.
just come talk. Like,
And see pictures of Murph.
yeah, he's
Yes.
there. Murphy is my 9-month-old golden retriever, and he's a good
Aw,
boy.
and we love Murphy.
Yeah, he's pretty good, actually, surprisingly. But yeah, please join the Discord. Come be a part of the community, and come talk to us if you want to talk about stuff that's important to you. Because the more feedback you give the guys, the more information you give them about what you like to hear, the better these podcasts are going to be to listen to. Not that they aren't already great, but they will be finer tuned. I don't think that's the right phrase. They'll be tuned
Yeah.
for you. So
Well, wow, Jackie, so totally outdoing me on the intro with the self-promotion for our podcast. That's very nice of you. And I think that's going to be all for us. Thanks, everybody, once again for listening.
See you next time, everybody.
Thanks,
Thanks
guys.
everybody.
Bye.